Indestructible man.
Age unknown.
Let's plant this nut Kavanaugh split.
Tell these little mucus membranes about Dickie Kavanaugh.
In many ways, he was a lot like you boys. Then one night, they took old Dickie out into the woods. Dickie came back. Mine just kind of stayed out there. They had to take him up to the loony bin in old Weston Hill. He's been there ever since, just screaming and hollering all night long.
Bitch. You just take what you can get. All of you, you're nothing but a bunch of whores. I won't forget this.
Oh, come on, Vincent. I know you're faster than that.
You whore. It's Dickie! No, bad. That's why I had to kill him!
Hi, this is Rutanya Alder from Girls Night Out, and you're listening to The Hysteria Continues.
And indeed you are. Welcome back to The Hysteria Continues even, episode number 57. And this week we will be going to DeWitt College for Girls Night Out, the 1982 come 1984 slasher, Joseph's Choice. We're also going to be having another quiz, one of Joseph's mind benders. And he says it's not too hard, but we're not sure, are we? Is it going to be hard?
We shall see.
We shall see. Okay, right. Well, we'll see what will pop up later. And we are also going to be talking about Recently Seen, and obviously we're going to be covering the Girls' Night Out, and we have an exclusive interview Joseph did with Ratonya Alder, which is a very interesting chat about her time making the movie and some surprising little anecdotes coming up. So, without further ado, I shall introduce you to your fellow scavenger hunters. Erik, how are you doing?
Well, I'm not happy.
Why is that?
To be honest. Well, courtesy of our friend Jake Helgren, I've now got an IMDb profile name, entry even, which is fine. So it has thanks to, and then the entries are Bloody Homecoming and Varsity Blood. But somebody, and I think I know who, has put in the Do You Know section that my nickname is Inga.
That is now, very funny.
I know it wasn't Nathan because he doesn't have a bad bone in his body, but it's definitely either you or Joseph.
It definitely wasn't me.
Yeah.
I would take credit for that because I thought it was funny, but it was definitely not me.
Yeah, I would own up to it because I think it was very funny.
We'll see what my lawyers say. That's all I have to say on it.
Have you ever had a bad bone in your body, Erik?
I don't know what you mean, Justin.
Okay. Well, it definitely wasn't me. That's all I can say. So, you finger someone else at Erik. So, Joseph, how are you doing?
I am quite, I guess, tired. I'll wake up. I just had an energy drink, so just give me a minute.
Okay. Right. Okay. Well,
okay, I'm done. I'm better now.
You're better now. Okay.
Yeah, having a Red Bull at 9 o'clock in the morning is terribly healthy.
Ew, I do not drink Red Bull.
Ooh, sorry.
Yeah,
be one of those kind
Tell
of shows.
Your lawyer to that.
Well, Nathan, how are you doing? Are you wide awake?
Are you talking to me now?
I am.
Because you guys don't know this, but I just Skype just dropped my call and it just reconnected me.
Wow. That's the magic of technology.
Yes. I'm quaint.
You're quaint?
Yes.
How? In what way are you quaint?
Like an old cottage.
Okay. Right. Well, I think we all have a mental picture.
Yes.
Of what I'm not quite sure.
Quaint, believe me.
It is going to be one of those shows. And I was talking to Erik before. I was drinking 80% proof rum, Austrian rum yesterday, but I only had 2 sips before mine was knocked over. So thankfully, otherwise I may not have been here.
Was it knocked over as you fell off your chair?
No,
unconscious.
I just popped out. I just popped out the room and I came back and they were mopping it up. It was only in little shot glasses.
Well, for 80%, that's enough.
No, it was just somebody else there, but they just accidentally knocked it over.
Clumsy Clumserson. Was it him again?
It was. But we did have, because we had the people around the other weekends, and we've got these shot glasses we got in Gran Canaria, which have a rather rude pictures at the bottom of the glass. so it gives a whole new meaning to stiff one. But we are going to be going on to Girls' Night Out shortly. Before we do that, should we talk about what we've been watching in the last couple of weeks? Nathan, have you been watching anything of note?
I recently watched Jurassic Park for the first time. I'd never seen it before.
Was it the 3D version?
Yes, it was the 3D version.
And was it any good?
And, yeah, it's good if you like depth, and I don't really care about depth. It doesn't really have anything coming out of the movie screen like I want. So I was ultimately underwhelmed by the 3D.
Okay. Well, I kind of guess it wasn't shot for 3D, was it? So that's the problem with those kind of post-converted films.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Unfortunately. But I mean, the movie itself was all right. I mean, for the first time seeing it. It's surprising I've gone this long without watching that movie.
Yeah, no, it's funny, isn't it? It's kind of like, it's like with Star Wars. I didn't see Star Wars until about 15 years ago. I didn't watch it so long. I know.
Really? I didn't see Star Wars until last year.
Oh, really?
And I wish I hadn't watched it.
Wow.
I hate those movies. They're so boring.
Yeah, I'm not a Star Wars fan either. No. I don't like them.
I can imagine there's a lot of people out there listening who are doing the, crossing themselves.
Fainting like Ned Flanders.
Yes. But yeah, I'm not. I mean, we've discussed this before. I'm not a big sci-fi fan. I mean, I can't stand the Star Trek movies, really. Or any of that, really. I mean, I quite like the Star Wars movies, but I've no rush to watch them again. And the new ones are pretty awful. And I've completely underwhelmed by the idea of them releasing one a year for the next, for eternity.
Yes.
So, well, anything else, Nathan?
I watched Stitches.
Okay.
It's a killer clown movie. And I loved it. I thought it was, I mean, it's got its corny moments, definitely, especially some of the one-liners, but ultimately I thought it was a lot of fun, a lot of gory kills, I mean, interesting villain.
Yeah. We've spoken about that before, haven't we? Was that you saw that, Erik?
I haven't seen it yet. No, Joseph's seen it.
Oh, that's right.
It was me. Okay. Yeah, I thought it was just okay. I mean, I thought it had like one or two like really funny moments, but the rest of the comedy was just kind of blah. And I didn't really like the characters, but the actual the gore was really good. So I was just kind of split down the middle about it.
Okay, excellent. Anything else, Nathan?
That's all I've seen.
Okay, well, Joseph, how about you? What have you been watching?
Well, let's see. I think I've only watched one movie because I have been I've been buried in paperwork. But no, I watched the Unaware. It's a found footage movie about this couple who they're going to his grandfather's house for the weekend, and he plans to propose to his girlfriend there. But when they get there, the grandparents are gone, and there's a note on the window telling the person who takes care of their lawn, to mow around the house and mow, I guess, some kind of field. But it says stay away from the barn. And so this kind of drives the guy crazy because ever since he was a kid, he's always wanted to know what was inside the barn. And so, after they kind of settle in and he eventually does propose to his girlfriend, he gets the bright idea to go looking in the barn, and I won't say what they find, but up until this point and to when they actually see what's in the barn, I was really with the movie. I mean, it's probably the only found footage movie I've seen in a while where I actually liked the characters. They never bickered. They never yelled. They were really nice people. But then once they reveal what's in the barn, and they get that initial shock out of the way, it kind of they start revealing too much. I mean, it becomes silly. I mean, the buildup is just great. I mean, it's totally creepy. And then, I don't know, it's just like, they're like, okay, let's do overkill, and it kind of ruins the film. So another one of those kind of meh movies that I am kind of disappointed in because I had heard so many good things about it.
Okay, because you're the as the regular listeners will know, you're kind of the king of the found footage movie.
Yeah, I like them. No one else does, but I do.
Well, fair enough. I'll take it. Nathan, have you seen that?
No, I have not.
No, I've not seen it, and I take it, Eric, you probably haven't either.
No, it hasn't opened in Dublin yet.
Okay.
Using your famous catchphrase.
Yes. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, thank you. Thanks for that, Joseph. Anything else?
No. As I've said, I've been kind of busy, but I need to kind of catch up. I haven't really been watching a lot of TV lately.
Okay. Right. Well, thank you, Erik. I understand you've been to the cinema.
I have. The first time in 6 months I've worked out. That was my first trip to the cinema. That's the longest I've gone without going to the cinema since I started going in 1978.
Gosh.
So I went to see a remake of a film called The Evil Dead, which was released in 1982. I don't know if you might have seen it. Have you heard of it?
I think
Is
so.
it the one with Bill Campbell? Bill Campbell? Is that his name?
Yeah, I think Glenn Campbell. It's Glenn Campbell.
Glenn Campbell, that's it.
That's it. So anyway, sorry?
That's an okay movie, if I remember correctly.
Is that the
anyway,
one
I of course went to see the Evil Dead remake, which has officially opened in Dublin, Justin.
Okay.
Now, I went with very low expectations because of the reviews that Joseph and Nathan gave it on the last podcast. And I have to say, I enjoyed it far more than our two American friends did. I still don't think it's a great movie by any stretch of the imagination, but, I thought it entertained me. I mean, I can understand any misgivings people might have. I mean, I'm a huge fan of the original film, and this one... what it lacks, I think, that the original trilogy is the sense of humor. This has absolutely no sense of humor at all, and it just goes out of its way to be particularly nasty and violent in a hostile or Saw kind of manner. I went with a non-horror fan, and he was saying beforehand, I hear this is supposed to be the scariest movie in a long time, so you're not to laugh at me if I get really frightened during it. And afterwards he said, it wasn't even the slightest bit scary at all. It was just gruesome. And I suppose that's, probably the problem with it. The great thing about the original is that because it has that sense of fun, it makes it endlessly rewatchable. And I find but either parts 1 or 2 are great party movies, especially if you've non-horror fans over, because they're so inoffensive, even though they're quite graphic. But this one is just graphic, and it is kind of, it just has nasty limb ripping and shredding and stuff. But having said that, I was entertained all the way through. I'd certainly give it maybe a 5 or 6, 6 out of 10, I'd say, for it.
Okay.
And also there's a great nod to Nail Gun Massacre in there. I think Nail Gun Massacre was a great influence on the film. I'm surprised that Joseph didn't mention that in the last podcast.
What are you talking about?
In the Evil Dead remake, there's a Nail Gun Massacre tribute.
What's the reference?
Well, one of the possessed demon-y people goes around with a nail gun.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they got that from Nail Gun Massacre.
Yeah. Well, actually, one of the things I did like about it that I could relate to really strongly was there's a character in it called Erik who's on the receiving end of an absolute ton of physical abuse, which I thought was kind of a nice parallel to this podcast.
Explain more.
I happen to disagree.
Because I'm on the receiving end of verbal abuse every week in, week out on this podcast, and I thought it was
the one thing I can say about the Erik character is he's probably the worst one in the film.
But he suffers the most. He gets hypodermic needles in the eye, he gets stabbed in the chest, he gets nail guns, he gets nails fired into every orifice.
And he just won't die.
Yeah.
But isn't he the one, though, that reads the words that brings the demons to life?
Yes, he is the one who reads the words and brings the demons to life.
If you're going to read the Necronomicon, why don't you just keep it to yourself? Just kind of read it in your head. Yeah.
I wonder if that would still...
I mean, you could go to the bathroom, and, it could be bathroom reading. You don't have to sit there and say,
Conda.
Yes. Estrada.
Anyway,
tomatoes. Yeah, what a moron.
I just kind of wonder if accents would affect it. If you have a thick Southern accent, if you're like Conda, I mean,
Conda.
Would the demons still get, stunned by that?
If Tracy from Body Count read it out, it would work. Yeah.
Strata,
Anyway, I thought it was far better than the remakes of Halloween, Friday the 13th, or Nightmare on Elm Street. Infinitely superior, I thought.
Okay.
Aww.
Sorry.
Well, talking
Sorry,
of...
I like the Friday the 13th remake.
You like that?
Oh, I love the Friday the 13th remake.
Really?
I do not.
It's just a bunch of horny teens getting killed by Jason.
I hated it.
Yeah, it's just like Hostel with Jason.
No, it was not. It's a slasher movie.
So why did he keep the girl alive? Like he's going to torture her.
Okay. I did not like that part, but like,
And the
for
part
most
with
of
a
the
sleeping
kills,
bag,
like,
holding it over the fire. That's not Jason.
That's the very beginning.
That's not Jason at all.
Yeah, and the bit where the guy sits down with the lingerie catalogue and a packet of tissues, I just wanted to hang myself Dickie Kavanagh style at that stage.
Well, before we come to blows, is there anything else? Sorry.
Yes. On the opposite end of the spectrum, I watched Night Riders, which is not the David Hasselhoff TV series. It's actually the George Romero 1981 movie with Ed Harris and Tom Savini, which has just come out on Blu-ray over here. This is a film that I surprisingly really, really like. Because if somebody came up to me and said, this is a film about these troupe performers who reenact medieval jousting tournaments on motorbikes, I'd say that sounds really boring. And if you said to me it's 2.5 hours long, I would say that sounds really, really boring. And I can't pinpoint what it is I like about the film. It's very low key and it's an odd choice of subject matter. And it's not exactly action-packed, but I just find that the world that is created within the film is quite engrossing, and the unusual lifestyle sort of that the people live in this unusual profession they have. It's engrossing, I found, and I think Ed Harris is excellent in it. And surprisingly, Tom Savini is absolutely brilliant in it as the two sort of leads who are conflicted. One, Ed Harris is very much into the lifestyle, into the purity of being a sort of medieval king, whereas Tom Savini just wants fame and glamour and lots of women. So, I mean, it'd be one of my favourite George Romero movies, I have to say. I know it's probably not to everyone's tastes, but the Blu-ray is actually excellent. There's a great commentary track on it as well.
Okay, I haven't seen it yet.
No,
it's kind of not the film. It's not a kind of film that I particularly would rush out to see. But on your recommendation, I might take a plunge.
Yeah, but I'd be worried. I mean, it is. It's. I don't think you won't hate it because it's crap. You'll hate it because it's boring, if anything. But
right. What a recommendation.
Yes. But no, it was on, you remember the Movie Drome series that used to be on BBC Two, introduced by Alex Cox?
Yeah.
They showed it once, and that's when I saw it first. And I said, okay, I knew what the subject matter was, and I said, I'll give it 20 minutes, and then I'll go to bed if it's rubbish. And, I found it really interesting. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Well, Nathan and Joseph, have you seen Night Riders?
No.
I did a long time ago, but I don't even remember it.
Okay. Well, say there's one I shall look out for. So thank you, Erik. And just to round things off, I watched a few films over the last couple of weeks. One was The Caller, which has got it's Stephen Moyer from True Blood in it. And a woman's name escapes me now, but it's a kind of a new film, or newish film, in the last couple of years, which has got a really interesting premise. And without giving too much away, because basically this is how the film more or less starts. It's a woman moves into an apartment, and she's just separated from her husband, and she starts getting crank calls. But they're from a woman asking for if a man's in the apartment, a certain person. And she says no, and what it turns out is, it's not clear to start off with whether this is real or not, but it appears that the calls are coming from 1979. So the woman is actually calling across time, and it turns into, at the end, a slasher movie. Most of it isn't a slasher movie, but the end 20 minutes are pure slasher movie. And I thought it was a really interesting idea, done pretty well. I didn't love it. It could have been better, but I thought it was quite an interesting little film. Has anyone else seen it?
Oh yes, I love that film. I think it's great.
I loved it too.
Because you see what I mean about it sort of turning into kind of a slasher movie at the end.
Oh yeah, and the woman who plays the caller, God, she just did such a great job. I thought,
She's
That's
creepy.
a really good performance. It's a really good performance.
How about you, Eric? Have you seen it?
No, I hadn't even heard of it, but it sounds really good, I have to say. So I'm going to seek that one
you
out.
got to see it, Eric.
Has it
It's
been
really
released in
good.
Bristol?
It has. Well, we got it on Love Film. Yeah.
Yeah, it's on Netflix as well.
Yeah.
Not over here, probably.
No, but you should seek it out, Eric. It's really, really good.
No,
Yeah,
it does
I'm
sound
not sure
good.
when
Yeah. It sounds like The Lake House, only with a phone.
Yes. So that was one of the films. The other film I think we talked about before, haven't we? Is Grabbers, which is the Irish film. Eric, you talked about that at some
What
length,
was that
didn't you?
noise that Nathan
I heard a noise.
Oh, I just really want to see it, and everybody else is seeing it, except me.
Well,
I can't find it.
You can't find
I will
it.
point you in the way, young man. I will point you in the way.
Okay.
Yeah. It wasn't anything special, but I thought it was quite fun. And the CGI I thought was incredibly good for kind of a relatively low budget movie.
Yeah.
So but we've talked about that, and obviously there's a resonance there with the idea of drinking to be kept safe from monsters, which I thought was a very nice little thing. Now the other film
It does reinforce stereotypes about the Irish.
Yes, it does. Well, it plays with them really, doesn't it? More than
That still would be safe.
I was off. I had a flu bug early in the week, so I was off work, and I couldn't get off the sofa, so I just watched a triple bill. And I won't go into any details, but one of them was the Violent Naples, which is kind of one of Polizia, which is really good. Actually, it was really good fun. It was kind of by our friend whose name escapes me now. Who's the guy? Seven Bloodstained Orchids and Cannibal Ferox. What's his name?
Oh, Umberto Lenzi.
Yes, I think it was one of his. But that wasn't the film. But then I watched that, and an Italian sort of another crime drama, and then I spoilt it all by watching a slasher film from the classic era I've never seen, and that film was Trick or Treats, the 1982 babysitting movie, which was so appalling. I've not seen a film that bad for a long time. I know,
I love his
you
change.
love.
Oh, awesome! Oh,
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen this one.
Oh, it's so bad. It's
it is
so awful, and it's so bizarre because it's got like all these people like is it John Carradine and
David Carradine. I'm looking at here. Steve Railsback, Gary Snodgrass, Peter Jason.
Yeah, and
Paul Bartel.
And Paul, what's his Railsback?
Steve Railsback.
Railsback, and they're all in it, and it's kind of. But the film, it's shot basically like a bad porno movie, and then I looked up what the director what else he'd made, and he'd made loads and loads of pornos, unsurprisingly, and I wrote down a little list of my favourites. That kind of, we talked about this before, but the kind of the pornos that do the rip off of the big blockbusters or the films that are popular at the time. So a little, some of his were Silence of the Buns, Maverick, The Joy Fuck Club, and Cape Rear, which I thought was particularly good. So
that's funny.
Yeah.
I heard the Joy Suck Club. That's the one I'd heard before.
Yeah,
he actually directed a film I think that Joseph likes, and it's not Anal Paprika 3 or anything. It's Evil Tunes. Is that one of the ones you like?
Okay,
I do like Evil Tunes.
Yeah.
Ooh, I love Evil Tunes.
Oh, maybe it was Nathan I was thinking of then. Yeah.
I like it too. Yeah, it's fun.
But Nathan, you like this movie? Do you? Is it the kind of movie you would choose for the podcast?
Yes, maybe around Halloween.
Okay. Well, the thing is, it's just because it's, without going into it in any detail as much as I can, it's kind of, basically, it's the story is a woman who goes to babysit a real brat who is kind of, keeps on trying to scare her, and he kind of does magic, and she keeps on finding him, like, he does things like, floats upside or face down in the pool, and just on the off chance she'll look out the window, and she does, and things like that. But there's also an escaped homicidal maniac coming back home and things like that. But that kid, who was, I think, the director's son, was the most annoying child character, I think, in any movie I've ever seen. So it could be quite fun to cover at some point, I guess.
Mm.
But
can I just make a correction? He was the cinematographer on Evil Tunes. I was looking at the wrong list on IMDb. Sorry.
Okay. Yes. Well, that is my recently seen. So I think I'm going to turn us over to Joseph for his devilish quiz, or devilishly hard quiz. So,
Hi, I'm Biff Binkman, and you are on Joseph's 1980 through 1989. Well, I don't have a very good, game show intro. Actually, it's basically I'm going to give each of you riddles involved with a movie slasher movie killers, and you have to name the title of the film. Now we're doing 80 through 84 today, and then on another episode we'll finish up the decade. And I chose this because I think Girls Night Out has an interest in killers, so why not do some quizzes about killers? So we will start with 1980, and I'm going to preface this with you can't just win 80 through 84. You have to win the entire thing before you can declare yourself champion.
Inga.
Okay.
Yes. Hey. You see, you should have said this in the last time you did one of these, quote, two-part quizzes.
Well, I didn't know you were going to turn into a complete psychopath so I learned my lesson.
Okay, well let's get the show on the road. Let's see before
Now we are going to start with 1980, and I have randomly selected who goes first. And Nathan, do you choose door number 1, door number 2, or door number 3?
2.
Okay, here is the riddle. It's I'm ugly and I have an Oedipal complex. What movie does this killer belong to?
Ugly and has an edible complex?
Oedipal. As in Oedipal, as in motherly.
Oh, I thought edible meant eating. Like, you...
Oedipal. Oedipal.
Oh, okay. Ugly with a mother complex. I don't know. Don't go in the house.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to pass this over to Erik.
Well, he wasn't a killer, but the only one I can think of that comes to mind is Jason in Friday the 13th.
No, I'm sorry. How about you, Justin?
Well, that's interesting. Because Jason sprung to mind, but obviously...
And remember, this is 1980.
1980. Mother complex. He Knows You're Alone? I don't think that would be that one, but...
No, I'm sorry. The answer was Maniac.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. John Spinell's not ugly. How dare you?
Yeah.
Neither is
Okay,
Jason.
Erik.
Yeah.
Erik, door number 1 or door number 3?
Does it really matter? Because I know this whole quiz has been rigged, so I won't win.
Oh, here we go.
A.
Let's begin.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
Door number A.
Okay. Okay, Erik, if you skimmed the razor's edge, you'd determine who I am. What movie does this killer belong to?
Skimmed the razor's edge. I've no idea, so I'm just going to guess New Year's Evil.
No, I'm sorry. That is incorrect. Justin.
Razor's Edge. I think this quiz is going to be lots of pregnant pauses, isn't it? Night School?
No, I'm sorry. Nathan.
Let's see. What was the movie I was thinking about? American Nightmare.
No, I'm sorry. The answer was Dressed to Kill.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I guess it's Justin is left with door number 3.
Okay.
And if you don't get this, I will be dumbfounded. Okay.
Prepare to be dumbfounded.
Okay, here we go. I can't seem to stay dressed in one outfit. I better go change in the nearest berth. What movie does this killer belong to?
Oh, Terror Train.
That is correct.
Yay.
Justin with 1.
Of course he gets the easy one.
Erik?
Sorry?
Yeah, it was an easy one.
Yeah.
Oh, it's began.
It was random, Erik, wasn't it?
Yeah. Complete this
Can you
famous
just look at
Hollywood...
me like that?
You deserve that.
All right, 1981, and we are back. Okay, we're going to start with Erik this time. So, Erik, door number 1, 2, or 3?
3.
Number 3. Okay, you might get this one. Okay, I may prance about in the place of the dead like a fine dandy, but I can kill with the best of them. What movie does this killer belong to?
Is this 1981 we're on now?
Yes.
Okay. Can you repeat the clue again?
I may prance about in the place of the dead like a fine dandy, but I can kill with the best of them. What movie does this killer belong to?
Sounds like kind of a new romantic clue when you say the word dandy. I can't think of any new romantic slashers, though, set in graveyards. Place of the dead. Oh! No. Isn't Mortuary 1981?
Yes,
no, Mortuary.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Yes, that is correct.
Oh, he prances around. Yes, of course. His little skip through the... Yeah.
That's one for Erik.
Yeah.
And let's see, Justin, door number 1 or door number 2?
Door number 2, please.
All right. You should probably get this one. You might say I'm rather large, or a giant, or a similar adjective. What movie does this killer belong to?
Well, humongous?
That is correct.
How rude, Erik. I'd made no kind of...
That one.
Sorry?
It was so obvious.
Well, I was thinking it might have been humongous sometimes listed as 1982. That was the only reason I gave a little pregnant pause there, Erik.
Yeah, whatever.
So...
Okay.
Such a sore loser.
Nathan is left with door number 1, and he should probably get this one. I have no name, no real identity to speak of. But at least I get to attend college, but not to pass the tests. What movie does this killer belong to?
Final Exam.
And that would be correct.
Hey, well done.
Yay.
Yay.
We are now...
actually got one right.
We're getting to 1982. Nathan has 1, Erik has 1, and Justin has 2.
Hey.
And Justin, you will start with you this time.
Okay.
Door number 1, 2, or 3?
Number 2 again, please.
Number 2, okay. You think you can stop me? Why, that would take someone with a perfect roundhouse. What movie does this killer belong to?
Perfect roundhouse. I'm not sure what a roundhouse is. Is that like some kind of bar?
No, that's a kick.
Oh, around. Oh, okay.
I was thinking of building as well.
Yeah. Is it Silent Rage?
That is correct.
Okay.
All right. We're back to Nathan. So door number 1 or door number 3?
3.
Okay, and you will get this one. I should have joined the circus, considering I can juggle many an item while killing. What movie does this killer belong to?
It's Island of Blood.
And that would be correct. So, Erik, that leaves you with door number 1, and you should probably get this one, maybe. They say the third time's the charm, and it must be true. I really become iconic here. What movie does this killer belong to?
Oh, I think it's Friday the 13th, Part 3 in 3D.
And that would be correct.
Yay.
All right. Justin is in the lead with 3, but Nathan and
Well,
Erik
how
are
is Justin in the
tied with
lead?
2. He's got 3.
Because I got 3.
You only got
And
2.
you and Nathan are tied
You only
with
got
2.
Erik, do you want me to play? Do you want me to play
he did
another
get
Inga?
3.
What was the third one he got?
He got Silent Rage.
He got Terror Train. And what was the third one?
Terror Train, and that second. What's the second one that you got right? I don't remember.
Yeah, he don't remember because he didn't get one. He's only got 2.
Oh, I did get 3.
He got 1 passed to him.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
I did.
It's ridiculous.
You can listen back, Erik. I'm sorry, Erik, but
I'll get my revenge. You'll see.
I will. I mean, I'm going to listen back to this podcast afterwards, and
yeah, and you'll
There's
be
gonna be
eating your
rematch
words,
next week.
Thrillful.
no, I won't. Curse
You
me.
will.
You're really not lending credence to your whole lawsuit against the IMDb credit.
Yes, I know. But why don't you give Justin 10 points? Why don't you just give him 10 points? Yeah, you're in the lead, Justin. You got 10.
Eric, I did. I got, what was it, 1981, wasn't it? Which one did I get for the 81? It was House of Death, wasn't it? House of Death.
Yes, Humongous.
No, Humongous.
Oh, Humongous, sorry, yeah. Yes,
Oh, wow.
so Eric.
Right, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Eric.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right. So...
Settle down.
Okay, so what...
We're on 1983, and we're starting with Nathan this time. So 1, 2, or 3.
Okay, 1.
Okay, you should probably get this. No one must know, quote unquote, who I am. What movie does this killer belong to?
No one must know who I am. Oh, A Blade in the Dark.
And that would be correct. All right. Eric, if you can contain yourself, door number 2 or 3?
3.
Okay, you should probably get this one. It wasn't me. It was my crazy twin. What movie does this killer belong to?
Well, I think it's The Initiation, but it's not 1984. The Initiation, I'll say.
Yes, that is correct.
Phew.
And Justin,
now I
guess
have 3.
Yeah, you're all tied right now, actually. Okay, Justin, I guess that we are left with you with door number... Wait a minute.
2
yeah, we are left... I'm sorry?
Door number 2 is left for...
Yes. Justin.
Yes. Okay.
You'd kill 2 if you carried around one of these your whole life and had to keep it a secret at the behest of a crazed family member. What movie does this killer belong to?
You'd kill 2 if you had to carry one of these around. Is it Sledgehammer?
No, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to pass this to Nathan.
If you had to carry one of these around...
your whole life and keep it a secret at the behest of a crazed family member.
Unhinged.
No, I'm sorry. Eric?
That was a good guess, though.
That was a good guess.
But Unhinged was 1982, not 1983.
That was a bad guess.
Or was Unhinged 81? I can't remember. I know it wasn't 83.
I don't know. The only thing I can think of is crazed family member Psycho 2.
No, I'm sorry. The answer is Sleepaway Camp.
Oh, you're talking about...
What?
Mine was really close.
Yeah, Nathan was close, but he was off by a couple of years. So.
Can you explain your riddle?
If you had to carry around one of these and keep it a secret at the behest of a crazed family member...
Oh, her Winkle.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, I see. Well, she doesn't have to carry it, really. It just hangs there.
Yeah, it just hangs there, yeah.
Well, you're getting into technicalities now.
Yeah.
All right, we're at the 1984, which is the final year. And who did we start with last time? Was it
I
Nathan?
think it's Eric's turn to start.
Yeah, Eric. Or number 1, 2, or 3?
I'll go for a big number 2, please.
Big number 2. Okay, you might get this one. Hey now, don't dream it's over. Because it's not. What movie does this killer belong to?
Okay, well, there's two I'm thinking of. Because there's, Okay, I'm going to go for Friday the 13th, the final chapter.
No, I'm sorry.
Fuck's sake.
I'm going to pass this on to Justin.
A Nightmare on Elm Street.
That would be correct.
That is not fair, because that's what I was going for, and then you said because it's not. And I was like, oh...
I'll get my revenge, you'll see.
Oh.
Because it's not implies that there are sequels coming.
Yeah, which there was with Friday the 13th, the final chapter, where it implies it's over, but it's not.
But dreaming.
I know.
Dreaming.
Yeah.
Dreaming.
There was a clue.
Yeah, well, Trish has a dream sequence at the end of in a deleted scene at the end of Friday the 13th, the final chapter.
Okay. Sure. We'll give Eric half a millimeter of a point.
Will we? He got it wrong.
I think you should just give Justin 1,000,000 points. Why don't you just give Justin 1,000,000 points?
Okay.
I don't mind. Just give him 1,000,000 points. Yeah, go on.
How'd you like that, Justin? Did it feel good?
Oh, that was That's great. I can just my work here is
Justin
done.
only had like one difficult question this whole quiz.
It's so ridiculous. Yeah,
Just
That's
saying.
Lady Luck.
Speaking of Justin, door number 1 or door number 3?
Door number 3, please.
Okay. You might say this killer has the leg strength to kill lots of people, even though most of the movie says otherwise. What movie does this killer belong to?
The leg strength.
Mm-hmm.
The only one I can think is Trial Run?
No, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to pass this to Nathan.
Splatter you.
And that would be correct.
Oh, okay, got you.
I love Splatter University.
Well, I don't understand the clue.
You might say the killer has
in
the
a
leg strength.
Leg strength.
Because he's in a wheelchair, but then the movie says otherwise.
Oh, I only have a vague recollection of Splatter University, I'm afraid. Yeah.
I said even though most of the movie says otherwise. All right. I guess we are on to Nathan. Is that right? Yeah. With door number 1. All right. And you'll probably get this one, Nathan. So, tossing former teen idols into electronics, one movie at a time. What movie does this killer belong to?
Tossing former teen idols into electronics?
One movie at a time. What movie does this killer belong to? Although the one movie at a time might be misleading, but I just thought it sounded good.
All right. Well, I'm just going to focus on tossing teen idols into electronics. It's
Careful what you say.
Yes.
Wait, would that not break them?
Okay, 1984. Teen idols and electronics. I'm going to say Nightmares?
No, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to pass this to Erik.
Okay, I think this one is Friday the 13th, the final chapter.
No, I'm sorry.
What?
That is
Corey Haim and
incorrect.
his computers.
Corey Haim is not in that movie.
I know what
Corey
it is.
Feldman, I mean. Corey Feldman
think
masturbates into his computer.
It was Deadly Intruder.
That is correct, Justin. You get a point.
That clue could apply to Friday the 13th final chapter as well.
But but
Corey Feldman is a teen idol, and he's playing a lot with his computer in Friday the 13th final
Yeah,
chapter.
but
he
he doesn't have
doesn't
his
get
head
tossed
pushed
into
through a
it.
TV set, does he?
And excuse me, Danny Bonaducci was not a teen idol.
Yes,
I'm
he
Yeah.
was.
saying.
Well,
He
I
was
got it right.
preteen.
Maybe not in your mind, but in someone's mind.
He was
people.
preteen. He was like 8.
I'm glad to see we've got a second Inga on the podcast. This is ridiculous.
Justin, you are
I'll
the
get my
only
revenge,
one
you'll
who
see.
always keeps his composure.
I
That's
am,
because you
aren't
give
I?
him all the easy questions.
Well, he wins all the time.
Yeah. Complete this slasher movie icon's name, Jamie Lee Blank. Why don't you just tell him to ask him that?
And then it gets to us, and it's like, who was the key grip on Edge of the Axe?
Exactly.
You want
Joseph.
to know what's funny is that Nathan, Friday, Nathan was like, I think me and Justin are the only ones who never get overexcited. now look what's happened.
My goodness,
Well,
it's
yeah,
raw.
when I
Were you
win.
gossiping about me?
When I win.
So you were gossiping about me, in other words.
Yes.
Well, we were mainly talking about your nickname on IMDb, because I wondered if Joseph really did write that.
Well, we know he did.
I wish I had now.
It's
I
probably
really
a
wish I
crazed
had.
fan, Erik, I imagine.
Or a bitter, twisted co-host on the podcast.
Don't worry, Erik. You'll
Whose
have a
name
chance.
rhymes with Dustin.
The game is not over, Erik.
What was the final score, anyway?
Justin with 5, Nathan with 4, and Erik with 3.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, well, it isn't one yet, Kurzweil, okay? Because there's a
No,
second
I never
part to
said it
this
was.
quiz.
I never said
There's
it
a
was.
second part to this quiz, okay?
I'm trying to keep some dignity with this, Erik. So
Please.
I'm in the middle of Justin and Eric.
You
I
did
brought
some
my own
sandwich.
mic.
I did not mean it that way.
Oh, these quizzes always kind of come to blows, don't they? So, but yeah, all
I
will
think
be
my next
revealed
will be the
next
last
time.
one.
Possibly, if Eric's going to have an aneurysm.
Yes.
I probably will. Because I did end up in the emergency room after the last quiz we did at Christmas.
Well, exactly. You could remember, take deep breaths,
Yeah.
Erik, and try and study harder. Right.
I think these quizzes are fun.
I do as well.
It's a way to get out all the aggression.
Yeah, I think it's fun too.
Okay. Right. Well, tune in next time for the second part of the quiz.
If nothing else, I can, like, when we finish the podcast tonight, I go home with the phrase "tossing a teenager off into electronics" in my head.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yes, and that will be forever. I think that'll be a little soundbite for
yes.
Yes. So, okay, what do you want to sum anything up, Joseph, or should we go into your pick of the week?
I would just like to say you all played wonderfully.
Thank you.
Oh, that's very sweet of you.
Even you, Erik. Even you.
Thank you.
Right. Well, let's move on to the film of the week, which is Girls' Night Out. And Joseph, you're going to bring us in after the trailer.
You know what really turns me on? I love to be scared. But lately, things are getting weird.
I don't want to be here. I want to go over right now. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here.
No one has seen Janie. And now Kathy's missing.
Who is he? How are you?
I wonder if they're with that kinky maniac we saw at the party last night. All these weird and kinky things have really got my motor running.
I'm waiting for you, Benson. Oh, come on, Benson. I know you're faster than that.
But what can you expect on a girls' night out?
The day after a homecoming basketball game and victory party, an all-night scavenger hunt is held on the campus of a small Ohio college. Against the backdrop of campus shenanigans, the school mascot is murdered and his bear costume is taken by the psychotic killer. Stalking cheerleaders and killing them in creative ways, the killer's identity stays hidden by the playful costume. The campus security officer, Mac, played by Hal Holbrook, whose daughter was a victim of a similar killer, vows to find out who's behind it all before more killings occur. Okay, Girls' Night Out is definitely a unique, if not exactly a coherent slasher film. It's one that displays much of the same cheese of the time frame without fear, but it's also a lot darker than most of the movies from 1984 especially. There's this sort of underlying sense of quiet doom permeating the proceedings, and I kind of like that. And one thing that really sets the film apart, at least to me, from others in the subgenre, is a complete role reversal on the whole male and female sexes of slasher films and college comedies. Here, the females are the ones who tend to brag about their sexual conquests, past and present, while the men are usually consoling one another over how unfair the opposite sex has been or are being. It's definitely an unusual switcheroo in what we're used to with these films, and there's certainly much more to lend credence to this viewpoint. The killer, and this is a spoiler, so be warned, turns out to be Barney, a female character with a male name, whose real name is Katie, who is really pretending or truly believes she is her own brother. So there you go for that one. In the finale, the Barney/Katie character, played by Retanya Alda, with whom we have an interview coming up, switches back and forth between these identities and genders. And it's really interesting, and at once it's quite creepy. I don't know, maybe I'm looking into this too much, but there's definitely a theme of gender confusion, and whether or not it was intentional, I suppose, is a mystery. But overall, does the film work? Yes and no, I guess, because it's such an odd film that it doesn't really have a central character, nor does it really segue into the usual cliches of the subgenre. I guess it kind of works on an almost otherworldly level. It's well acted and it's well photographed, so there's this kind of sheen of professionalism going on, despite the fact that it was a rush production, and there's more on that in the upcoming interview with Retanya. I kind of hazard a guess that most slasher fans will generally be divided. I mean, those looking for more straightforward spills and thrills, they might be disappointed in all the kind of bizarre tangents the film takes. But I don't know. Those looking for something off the beaten path I think they'll find a lot to like here, including the ending, which I think is one of the best final shots in slasher film history. It's very creepy, and it kind of left me almost skeeved out, I guess. I guess I've said enough now, because I do have much more to say later, but let's hear what Justin has to say.
Well, to be honest, I probably agree with pretty much everything you said, Joseph. It's Girls' Night Out is a really kind of schizophrenic slasher movie, and I think it's possibly that schizophrenia or multiple personalities is partly because it seems like there was like about 4 or 5 people wrote it. And it just seems they didn't really know quite what it wanted to be, because much of the film's kind of taken up with that kind of frat humour that you see in lots of other films, around the time, like the kind of frat, kind of like Animal House, that type of humour. It seemed like they didn't know whether to go for that, but then it's got offset by the murders, which aren't particularly graphic, but the whole thing of the killer hissing, slut, whore, bitch, which is kind of gives it a really grungy, nasty edge. And the film is bookended by the closing scene, which I agree is kind of it really takes you by surprise the first time you see it, because it is kind of genuinely creepy. And whether or not that was on purpose or it's just they accidentally did that, I don't know. But also, I find the opening scene at the psychiatric hospital with the kind of elderly nurse who kind of gets a phone call from Dickie Kavanagh and goes in to find him hanging in his room is quite creepy as well. And I just kind of wondered whether or not, if the film had kept that up all the way through, it would have been a completely different film. But it's so episodic as well that you've got you've got, like, say, the character of, is it Maniac, who he's one of the kind of frat boys. He just disappears for he's put one of the main characters in the beginning of the movie, and then he just disappears apart from one little scene at the end. It just seems like it was like a really troubled production or very rushed, which I know Retanya is going to talk about in a little bit. But I like it. I mean, it's not a good film. It's a film where you can pick out lots of good things from, and there's some not so good things in it. But I do like it. I think it's it's got a great ambience. It's great. It's a kind of sorority, kind of fraternity, kind of college set slasher. I think is always going to be fun. And I think the cast very enthusiastic and most of them are sort of genuinely likable, I think. So that's got the benefits. But I think a tighter script and a bit more focus, and actually having a main character that you kind of follow throughout would have helped an awful lot more, and people would be talking about it in the kind of higher echelon slash movies if it had been tightened up a little bit. But that's a little bit of what I think. So
okay, how about you, Nathan?
I'm a fan. I really like Girls' Night Out. I mean, as you said, you guys have said that it's not without its problems. I mean, I kind of wanted more of a final girl. That would have been nice. A really good chase scene or something. I would have really enjoyed that. I think the settings are creepy. I love the idea of them getting stalked during a scavenger hunt. And hey, it did the whole Freddy Krueger like finger knives idea before Freddy did. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. One thing is, I remember there was a scene where the two girls are deciding where to go, and one of them is going to go to the baseball field, and the other one was going to go to the bell tower because of the bat clue. And I was thinking it would have been awesome to see this girl get stalked at the baseball field. I thought that'd be a good setting for a stalking scene, but unfortunately we didn't get that. But ultimately I think it's a good movie, and it does have really creepy settings which add to the film. And like you guys said, it's got a really creepy ending. And I think one of my issues though is I'm horrible with names. I can't remember her character. What's the girl's character that likes Benson? Laura Marie Taylor's character?
Sheila.
Is it Sheila? Okay.
Yeah.
She kind of weirds me out. You know, that she's got a thing for her cousin. It's I don't know. It's a little icky, I guess, for lack of a better word for me.
He's a second cousin.
It doesn't matter.
but he can keep it up forever. So surely.
And she's got a sore behind.
You have to forgive her for that. Sorry?
I'm not.
Doesn't she say she has a sore behind?
My cousins.
What were you saying, Justin? Sorry?
Doesn't she say she's got a sore behind or something? She can't sit down.
It hurts when I sit down.
Yes.
Right. This very, I don't know. It's kind of gross. I'm not gonna lie. And that might be why she dies. Just saying, because she was, that's kind of a horror thing to say and do.
Well, and Pryor was right then, calling them whores.
No, could have been. But anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Okay, Erik.
Well, my notes here that I have on a piece of paper echo everything that's been said by all three of you, I'm afraid, so you're prepare for some repetition. I've accused the film in the past of being very episodic as well, but rewatching it this week, I think it's much more coherent than I originally thought. The problem with the film for me is that there's too many characters. And then there's a scene sort of 20 minutes into the film where you're introduced to lots of new characters, but we're at a fancy dress party. So when they reappear maybe 15, 20 minutes later, they're unrecognizable. So they appear like they're new characters. And it was really hard, I found, to keep track of who was who. Because like Nathan was saying, it was hard to keep track of names of characters. And that was a big problem. And as Justin was saying, Maniac is, apart from being a dreadful actor, the rest of the film... The rest of the film, the acting's pretty good, but Maniac stands out as being particularly poor. And I'm wondering if the reason he just sort of drops out of the film first for the middle sort of... Well, he drops out after about half an hour and doesn't come back till the very end. I'm wondering if that was because they saw the dailies and they were like, ooh, maybe we should just axe this guy's performance. It does have... it is kind of a standard slasher with these strange touches. The lead characters are not the sort of goody two-shoes Jamie Lee Curtis or Adrienne King types. I suppose the final boy, if you can call him that, is Teddy, and he's openly sort of cheating on his girlfriend with this character of Dawn, and she's kind of set up as kind of a final girl, but she's openly cheating on her boyfriend as well. But, they're not unlikable characters. It's just unusual that they're portrayed as being so flawed, I suppose. And there is a lot of that sort of soap opera dynamic going on for large sections of the film, but I found it kind of entertaining, I have to say. I do like what I assume is improvised acting. There's a great, it's not a great scene, but there's a scene I particularly like with Carrick Glenn, who was previously in The Burning, and she's with her friend Jane, and they're searching for the first clue, and it's the scene where Jane doesn't have a watch and they're just trying to decide when to meet back. And it's so obviously just improvised on the spot, and they come across as if they're really drunk. It reminded me of kind of those improvised skits you get on Sesame Street where some kid like John comes in and talks to Kermit the Frog about, random nonsense. I got that vibe off it, and I thought that was kind of endearing in the film. And I do, as you guys were saying, the final 2 minutes of the film are, worth the admission price alone, because they do sort of appear out of the blue. And I think we've made the parallel in the past of how it sort of echoes the end of Prom Night, where both Prom Night and Girls' Night Out are kind of fun and frivolous slasher movies, and that have this kind of dark ending. So I have to say, Girls' Night Out, if you're not a fan, I'd say give it another go, and really maybe if you can sort of focus on which character is which, because that was the problem I've always had with the film, is that at the 60-minute mark I felt new characters were being introduced, but it wasn't. It was just characters that maybe hadn't appeared for maybe half an hour were being brought back in. If you can get past that, I think it's a really enjoyable film. And I'm just looking at it now, and the wonderful character, an underused character of Bostwick, is doing his dance, and that as well is worth its price. He outdoes Crispin Glover in Friday the 13th, the final chapter. If I can bring up that that film again, Joseph Henson. Big fan. Well, big fan. I'm a fan of the movie, I have to say.
I agree with you, Eric, about the two girls. They come off genuinely like as drunk friends because I love when they're like, let's meet back in 20 minutes. And she's like, okay, well, I don't have a watch. Count to 20. And she's like, well, that's 20 seconds. She's like, well, count slow.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think that just small moments like that really help make the film. I think I really like Carrick Glenn, who is the girl from The Burning in this film, even though, again, she's underused.
Yeah, she is.
I guess you could say that about a lot of the characters. I mean, kind of getting back to the four different writers. It's like one writer is like, you know what? I want this film to be very creepy, and so he puts his 2 cents in at the beginning and at the end, and then the other one's like, well, I want all this kind of gender confusion and kind of overt sexuality going on and with these flawed characters. So, he pretty much kind of peppers that throughout. And then the other one's like, well, let's make it kind of a Porky's type movie. And it's so chaotic, but, I think it kind of works. I mean, in any other movie, I would be like, ugh, is this ever going to like pick a road to go down? But I don't know. It just works here for some reason.
Did anyone else notice a kind of homoerotic frisson between Teddy and Maniac?
Yes. Yeah, that's another thing I was going to mention, where they're kind of in each other's arms pouring booze down their throats. I mean, with long neck bottles. I mean, take from that what you will.
It kind of reminded me a bit of Doc and Mo from Terror Train.
From who, sorry?
Doc and Mo from Terror Train.
From Terror Train.
Oh, right, yeah.
That was a similar thing. But also, did you notice there was no female nudity, but loads of male nudity? Well, not like, but bare chests. So I do wonder if there was kind of a, whoever's making it may have been a fan of that rather than the Knockers.
Do you think it was Jason Orange from Take That?
It could have. Why would it be here?
As the only straight guy on here, I was kind of iffy about bringing up all the kind of homoeroticism, but I'm glad you actually brought that up because it is a lot. It is peppered throughout the movie a lot.
And
along with the whole gender confusion and everything. It's so weird.
There's those two over-the-top guys. I didn't catch the character names, but they're the sort of the Jokers, the two Joker characters, and one of them is wearing a bra at one stage. Yeah, and they act very camp.
Yeah.
Did you know that the guy who played Maniac, Mark McChesney, was a gay rights activist, so he was gay in real life.
Yeah, he actually died in 1999 of AIDS-related complications, sadly.
Yes, sadly. So,
but he, I don't mean to be mean, but he is pretty awful in that scene where he's, that scene. No, did anyone else pick up on
it? You actually think I had something to do with this?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mean to speak ill of the dead, but he wasn't the best actor.
Well, he wasn't dead then, so I think you're safe.
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, we can come back and talk a little bit more about the film and some of the background as well. I mean, do you want to go to the interview now? Or?
Yeah, that's good. That'll work.
Do you want to introduce that, Joseph?
Yeah, I spoke with Retanya Alda, who plays Barney / Katie. She is the killer in the film, but she's also the nice cafeteria worker. And I spoke to her just this past Friday, which was 2 days ago, and she was really lovely to speak with. So take it away.
Burgers.
Hey, what's with Maniac, huh?
Leslie dumped on him. And now she's taken up with the president of Delta Phi. You know, it's not enough that the school tries to screw you. Everybody else has to screw around with everybody else.
Watch out. Hey, you're going to turn into a cynic.
Maybe.
Okay, so I guess the universal question today is, how did you become involved with Girls' Night Out?
I got involved with Girls' Night Out because I had just finished Mommy Dearest, and they had seen me in Mommy Dearest. So they asked me to come in and read for the part. So I did. I came in and read for the part. So, and then they cast me. So it was pretty simple. I mean, I think that also I was teaching at the time, and one of the actors who was the boyfriend of the director also was happy that I was involved. But I think it really came from the fact that I was in Mommy Dearest. And Mommy Dearest at the time was like, the big hit cult. It still is the cult film of the last 3 decades.
Oh yeah, it definitely has a fan base.
Yeah, it has its fan base. So I think that's really the reason they had me in. They thought that would be, a good selling point for the film, I think.
And what about Hal Holbrook? What was it like working with him?
Well, it was very quick because the whole movie was shot on a weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It was like a 3-day shoot. Everybody lived, everybody probably lived on the set. Nobody went home. So, I remember, you'd catch some sleep in some little room that had some pillows or something. People, when they weren't working, they were just, trying to find a place to sleep because we had to get it done by that Sunday. I think that was all that they had, the time and the location and the money, really. So, it was a long 3-day weekend. Practically without sleep. And Hal just came in for one afternoon. He wasn't like there with the rest of us trying to find a pillow and a place to sleep. They just had him in. They had him scheduled in that afternoon for a couple of hours, and he came in and he did it and he left. So his son David Holbrook was one of the stars of the film, and I think he came in primarily because his son was in the film and he felt like he had to help out. That was my take on it, whether it was true or not. Now David has since gone on. I just ran into him. He's gone on to become a therapist. So went to med school, and he quit acting, went to med school, became a therapist in New Jersey. He's very happy. So, but we ran into each other and happy to see each other. So, and then I ran into Hal Holbrook last fall with one of the Academy events, that they were promoting for a film that he was in with Matt Damon. And so he was there, and it was lovely to see him. We spoke for about 15 minutes, took a picture together and everything. He's a sweet guy. But the length of time he was in was just really too short and he was wonderful to work with. It was basically, the whole movie was basically like one take, 2 at the most. So you just went for it on one take. If you were lucky, you got a second take. And he was, he's a pro, and he just did it on the one take. I did it on the one take, and that was basically it. We said goodbye. It was almost like a 24-hour shoot. I think at one point the DP, his father got very sick, or his father died, I forget, and they put in another DP, or the assistant DP took over, and I don't remember whether the original DP came back or not. When you're up for 3 days, things kind of you remember moments, but there's not a lot of, you kind of just struggling to stay awake. So I think everybody was. I think it was hardest on the crew because they did take short breaks, but they were really. I think it was harder on them even than the actors, because the actors could always find like 15 minutes or 30 minutes to lay down somewhere, some corner. But the crew was pretty. It was pretty intense experience for them.
Wow, 3 days. That is incredible. That film really comes together. For what it is, for a 3-day shoot, it really stands out. But how about behind the scenes info? Do you have any kind of, I guess you'd call them anecdotes for things that happened when the cameras weren't rolling?
I really don't, because I basically came in to do my stuff, and then I was waiting, and then, when you're doing film, the days are going to be long, but not this long, not 3 days long. But so, you have a little time that you better just lay down, you better just take some time to get quiet, you go over your material, you go over your lines. And, so it's not like a longer shoot where you have time and you have more, when, regular hours and people go out to dinner and they do all that stuff to socialize and get to know each other. This was a 3-day non-stop filming experience. And so, I don't remember any behind the day things, because if I wasn't in something, I'd try to take my script or I'd try to, just lay down and get like a half an hour's worth of sleep so I would be coherent, or, do my hair or something. So there really wasn't that much. I mean, Julie Montgomery, I know, was in my acting class with me when I was studying with Paul Mann. She was in there for a few months, and then she left to go to California. So I kind of knew her from acting class more than I did from the film, because we really didn't have, we didn't really work together. The person I really worked with more than anybody was Hal Holbrook. And at the end, even at the end when I there as the twin brother, they rolled me out, I rolled myself out from the thing. It was like, that was like basically by myself. The scene basically with Hal Holbrook was with me and Hal. And then, the scene in the cafeteria was with the other kids, but it was like, it was so fast that, you was just kind of, your head was kind of whirling around thinking, well, where am I now? Where do I have to go? How much time do I have? Where can I go to what corner can I find for my lines? Where can I go just to lie down? So it was like a whirlwind thing. It was like an experience like no other that I've ever had making a movie. Let's put it that way.
I wasn't sure for the longest time if that was you in the freezer, because I always thought to myself, wow, they really casted an actor who kind of resembles you, but you're saying that it was you.
They put a wig on me and the things. That was me.
Yeah, you'd think as many times as I've seen the film that I would actually pick up on that, but no, I never did. Count that up to ignorance on my part.
Yeah, I was Dickie. So that was, we did that separately. But we did that scene, that was the only scene that wasn't done that weekend. Okay. That was the only scene they did separately because they had to have the wig, the makeup person, and that was done. That was the only scene that was done separately. So that was done a separate day. They got that in a couple of hours one afternoon. But everything else was done that weekend.
And when they cast you, were you aware that you would turn out to be the murderer, or did you figure that out later during filming?
Oh no, they told me. We discussed the script, and they told me, so I knew it was. I knew they had the script, so I read it. So I knew that there was a killer. It was kind of fun to play a killer. I thought what was interesting is that, I think it's interesting to cast a killer against type. So it doesn't, the first time you see people, it doesn't look like a killer. They look like ordinary people. I think that's always more interesting when they look like ordinary people like I did, and then they turn out to be the crazy killer.
Oh yeah, I know you said you only had 3 days to shoot the film, but was there any kind of, quick preparation to kind of get into the mindset of being this complete psycho?
Well, I always think that people that are psychotic and crazy don't think they're psychotic and crazy. They kind of think that they justify everything. Everything they do, they have a rational explanation for. And that's, I think, what makes it more dangerous. That, that they look ordinary and they look like and inside all of that, there's a lot of stuff going on, which is what makes them, so unpredictable. And so I played her very sincerely. I mean, I played her like she had every reason to do what she did, and she was gonna, these people were awful, and she was going to make it right in her mind. So I always take it from the character's point of, nobody ever thinks they're a bad person. Even the bad people, they don't think, oh, I'm a bad guy, or I'm a bad person. So I always take it from the point of view, whatever the character is, that they think they're fine. They don't think there's anything wrong with them. And then they do these horrible things. So, that to me is interesting. It shows up in the news stories all the time. People say, oh, I didn't know people. Oh, they were so nice, or they were this, or they were that, and it shows up in news stories, not all the time, but a lot. So that, people wonder, well, why, they didn't seem that way to me. Yeah, that's what makes it interesting. So I thought it was kind of a fun opportunity to play a character, probably that I would never have gotten cast in. So it was nice that I got cast.
Yeah, and I think you pulled that off really well, because in these types of films, you have a character who is essentially a nice person. and 9 times out of 10, they always turn out to be the killer. And there's always some kind of craft, some really good acting that you have to put forth to kind of pull that off, to kind of fool the audience. And I really think you did a very good job, playing this nice, normal person who just kind of, I guess, goes bonkers at the end.
Oh, thank you. Well, it was fun. It was fun, and it was fun doing. And I really think that my scene with Hal is my favorite scene. Where I'm stabbing someone with a knife. I think that in that movie it was my favorite scene because it had some meat to it. I liked doing it. Although I think we only did the most 2 takes on that. I think we got in the first take, and I think we might have picked up something in the second take, if I remember. But it was really quick. We had to really just jump in and do it.
Okay, I know the film is a little notorious for having, I believe it was 4 writers involved. But what about directors? I mean, were there more than one? Because it kind of comes off that way.
There was only one director on the set, but I don't know who wrote everything, to tell you the truth. I don't know. That could be true. I don't know all the people behind the scenes that were involved. I think there were a lot of people involved. And they still owe me $5,000. They never paid me.
Oh, no. I've heard a lot of stories like that when I interview people for the show. A lot of people are like, I was promised a percentage of the film's profits or a lump sum, and when the day was over, I didn't get a dime. So if you get in contact with whomever's involved, tell them they owe me some money.
Oh, yeah. And you know what? It's like gone. But they, it's like when they say, well, we're going to pay the $5,000. We'll pay you. Of course, it's kissed it goodbye. I'm sure they paid Hal. I'm sure they took he got his money up front. But, it's a lesson, and it's a lesson to that. But it's also kind of leaves a bad taste because the actor is the one that always gets screwed. They made money on this movie, with all the sales and all of it. I mean, they made some money. I don't know how much money they made, but it's too bad that the actor is always the one that's the low man on the totem pole. And if you're going to screw anybody, they screw the actor. And it's just really kind of shameful. I wish they would kind of not do that. I wish people wouldn't do that. I mean, even if they, like all the low budget movies today or ultra low budget movies, they only pay the actor $100 a day. But at least pay them that. Don't just screw them. That's literally what they do. So it's kind of a shame. But I'm fine talking about it. I think they should be shamed. So that was my experience with the end result is they never paid me. So.
Oh, that's too bad. I think you deserved every bit of that $5,000.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a 3-day shoot, but 24-hour day shoot. So I don't know. I think I definitely was on the high end of their payroll. I think the other actors, if they got paid, they got a lot less. So maybe they got paid. So who knows? But that's the story.
Yeah, sadly, I guess you can kind of file that under ancient history. It's a shame, but I guess you never really will know if they got paid or not.
You know what? That's the way it was. Hopefully it will never happen again. But, now if I do something like that, I get a contract or I get some money up front, so that, I'm protected in some way. And that's the thing. That's the way it should be. The actor should be protected. But, you live and learn, and those are lessons, and I'm not, it's not like I'm weeping about it. It's just that I just thought I would mention it to you. It's just a fact of what happened during that whole movie. But, yeah.
Yeah, I think horror story or not, those kind of tidbits are always kind of interesting to kind of relay to the listeners on the show because, a lot of these people, look at performances and say, wow, they did a really good job. They must have been, well compensated for their time and effort. But the truth is a lot of these shows, movies, they don't really, go about things in a most scrupulous manner. And I guess you were kind of a casualty of that. I'm sorry to hear about that. But anyway, I guess going on to my last question, have you seen the film recently? And overall, what did you think of the finished product?
I have not seen it recently, but I was doing a show in Theater Row in New York last fall, and a comedy, and somebody came up and said, because we're limited in although there are only 3 of us in the cast, they still limit you in terms of what you can put in the program because of space and stuff. So I listed some of my movies, but I didn't list Girls' Night Out because I had other movies that I wanted to list. So some fan came up to me after the show and said, Miss Alda, you didn't list Girls' Night Out. I'm so upset that you didn't list that movie. And I said, oh, I'm sorry. I said, space is limited and we have to, we can't list everything. And well, next time you do something, you have to list Girls' Night Out. It's like one of my favorite movies. And I was kind of surprised. I thought, oh my God, Girls' Night Out is one of his favorite movies. Apparently it has a little bit of a following and people like it. I see it online. People, that people ask about it. They like the movie. So, but I have not, getting back to your question, I have not seen it in years and years, to tell you the truth. It would be interesting probably to see it again after all these years because, when the person came up to me after the theater and said that he loved that movie, I thought to myself, maybe I should see that movie again and see what that movie is about. So it occurred to me then. I haven't looked at it, but I will. I will. It's a good idea to just kind of see it and see how it fits after all these years. So.
Yeah, it's an odd movie. I say that in the nicest way possible because I really do love the film. It's my pick for the show this week, but it's odd and it's I guess the word is I don't want to say incoherent, but I guess it is incoherent, but in kind of a bizarre way. And it's kind of endearing and it kind of works and kind of I guess that kind of lends to its charm almost.
It's incoherent because I think we were all like people were like grogging in and out. But you know what? I think it was probably all in the writing too because this was a fast. Once they cast it, they did it really fast. So I think a lot of it was probably incoherent a little bit because it wasn't given enough time to set up the thing and to do it. I think they just got it. They probably had the money for it, and they said, let's just do it now before we lose the money or before something happens. So it was kind of thrown together like in the kitchen. You put in this and this and this, and they say, go for it, So the mix was there, and people said, go for it, because it happened really fast. And the whole thing was put together really fast. So my guess is that that's why it might be slightly incoherent. But it's good that it's charming in its own way. I think a lot of the young actors were very charming and very sweet, the ones that I met. I really, except for Julie, I really didn't know anybody else. But, it was a nice mixture of young people that were, I think, there. And I think that they were charming. You're right. They were very charming young people.
Well, yeah, I guess that's about it for the questions, but I do want to thank you again for taking the time out of your day to kind of answer them for everybody.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm sorry I didn't have any juicy little tidbits because what happened is, I just, it's one of, like I said, it's one of those movies where it's 3 days only. And usually on movies longer, you get to know people and they happen, you get like the background stuff. But it was such a whirlwind that, like getting through it was such a challenge. 3-day wake up. Being awake for 3 days, because those little 15-minute naps really don't do it, But it was, it was done, and I have to say, in a way, that I kind of admire, I do admire the fact that they did pull it off. It was kind of admirable. So, with all the stuff that happened, and with losing the DP and having to, and it was like, that was, the fact that they even finished it was kind of admirable. So, and it's out there and people enjoy it. Some people enjoy it. And I'm grateful. I'm happy to be part of someone's entertainment. It's great. That's what I want to do. That's why I became an actress, is to really give people some kind of pleasure or thrill or scare them or something, something that'll make it fun for them. And I'm glad that in some ways Girls' Night Out does that.
Katie Kavanaugh? I'm not Katie. Dickie Kavanaugh and Dickie! And they're all bad. That's why I had to kill them!
That's why I had to kill your Patty. I thought she was good. But she wasn't.
She was bad
like the rest of them.
All right, and that was Ratanya Alda again. And thanks again, Ratanya. Hope you're listening. I will be sending this link to you, so thanks again. I'm sure we all appreciate it. Is that right?
Yeah. No, it's great.
Yes, very much.
And star of one of my favourite 80s films, Amityville 2.
Yes. And Mommy Dearest, of course.
Of course. And You Better Watch Out, and When a Stranger Calls, and Vigilante, and The Stuff.
She's in Christmas Evil as well.
Yeah, wow. What a roll call.
I know.
Maybe we can talk to her. When we do cover some of those other movies, maybe she'll be, I'm sure she'll be nice enough to come back and talk about those. So she's always a good, I've heard her being interviewed before and she's always good fun. So it was nice to get that. I'd know, the only thing I was a bit confused about was she saying she worked 3 days, didn't she? But the whole shoot wasn't 3 days, was it? It was...
I'm not 100% sure. Maybe she'll...
No, I can't imagine it was shot in 3 days.
No. I mean, obviously that whole thing...
I'm not sure, but...
Hal Holbrook was so obvious, wasn't it? Especially that shot when he comes into the cafeteria and he's kind of looking. They kind of turn to look at him. He's obviously not really there. Well, as in because he shot all his scenes, didn't she, in a day or something?
Yeah, and when he's talking to Pryor, they're never in the same shot together.
No, it's only when he's got with his son, isn't it? David Holbrook, who has got that scene with him on the bench.
Are they in the same shot together in that scene?
Yeah.
Oh right, okay.
I mean, I suppose because I think that was probably the only reason that he came onto the movie, wasn't it? Because his son wanted to, have a shot at fame.
Did you guys notice? Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Justin.
Sorry.
That was rude of me.
That's all right.
Oh, I was just going to say, did you notice that Pryor's or the flashback, or actually the flashback to when Pryor got slapped by Sheila is different than what we saw? Really, the flashback scene is like a different shot scene or something.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
No.
It's a different take, yeah. Right.
Yeah, it's a different take. They used a different take for the flashback, which was kind of an interesting choice for me.
Well, he kind of reminded me of it was a bit of an Inga moment, wasn't it? With that when he said when he stormed out.
It was a bit.
Don't you guys think? Didn't he have a right to be upset though?
I think so.
Yeah, I think he did. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was kind of because I mean I don't want to be horrible, but he wasn't exactly the best looking actor in that film, was he? And he's
who was the best looking actor in that film?
Who was? Well, no, there was a couple of a bit of eye candy, wasn't there?
No,
Benson.
No,
I thought Benson was.
He got stabbed, didn't he? Yeah, he's the one who got.
He got killed at the very beginning.
Yeah,
he was the original mascot. Yeah.
What about the bear? I think Erik likes the bear.
No, yes. I was going to say that's one of the things about the film that is a bit ludicrous is the bear costume for the killer.
Oh, I think it's great. I think it's so odd.
It is. It's fun and it's odd, but it's also a tad ludicrous. No.
Yeah, I think that's what gives it its charm. That is.
Yeah, I think it gives it a charm as well.
Yeah.
But it's also the good thing about that kind of. It's the best possible kind of outfit, isn't it, for the killer to wear, because they would never be suspected, even though they're wearing a really ridiculous costume.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, coming off of that, you know, in a lot of these movies where the killer wears black gloves or kind of tight-fitting outfits, you can tell if it's a male or a female. And here you have no idea because the outfit is so bulky.
Mm-hmm. Except there's one scene like when the killer's leaving the bell tower and they're walking. I was watching it with a friend of mine, Melissa, and when the killer was walking away, she was looking. She goes, "That's a woman." She's like, "You can tell by the way they're walking." I was like, "Oh, okay."
Interesting. I mean, I very much doubt it was Tanya Alder in that suit, was it? But it may have been a stunt woman.
Mm.
Yeah. Mm. Okay. Well, have we got any background information, Joseph, you want to share?
Well, obviously, it's also known as the Scaremaker, and it's also a pretty good movie.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Okay.
Yeah. According to us, anyway. So no, that's pretty much all I have is everything from the interview. So, anyone else?
Okay. I have a few things. Of course, I think we've discussed this before. Lauren Marie Taylor, who plays Sheila, is married to the guy who played Bostwick, who is John Didrichson. They've been married since 1983. And you've met Lauren Marie Taylor at one of the horror conventions.
Yes. And I did speak to Bostwick over the phone at the convention.
Cool. Yeah. James Carroll, who plays Teddy in the film, he was also in He Knows You're Alone, which was made 2 years prior to this film. And speaking of prior, David Holbrook went on to appear as the wonderfully titled Fatso Gribbins in the Old Chief Woodenhead episode of Creepshow 2.
Gets an arrow through the throat. Yeah.
Yes, and if my memory serves me correctly, doesn't he vomit on a pinball machine?
Yes. Or he tries to vomit over it, but I think some of it lands on the pinball machine.
All right. We'll have to,
and then the lovely Sam Whitemoon tells him to forget what he saw.
And he had put on some weight between Girls Night Out and Creepshow 2.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he did. Now, would you like him in Creepshow 2, Eric?
No.
Why not?
I don't know. I mean, I don't fancy everyone. It's like saying...
If he had a beard.
Well, maybe.
Okay.
Well, he also went on to have small roles in Vampire's Kiss and Return to Salem's Lot, but I haven't seen either of those films, so maybe he has.
Vampire's Kiss, that the one with Nick Cage?
I think so, yeah.
The one where he eats a cockroach, I think.
Yeah. Yes, that's right.
He actually eats the cockroach in that movie.
When this, getting back to behind the scenes, apparently it was filmed in Uppsala College in East Orange, New York. Is East Orange anywhere near South Pineapple?
I don't know. Was it New York? Because I remember the back of the DVD said it was an Ohio college, so I wasn't sure. Yeah.
Well, this is just random information I took from a book. I haven't verified the source or anything. And when it was released in the UK and Ireland in December of 1986, it was cut by 22 whole seconds, which I assume was just blood gushing from wounds and things, because there's not that much explicit violence in the film. And that's all the information I have.
Okay, Nathan, do you have anything?
Well, the one thing I do have is that even though this movie does feature a scavenger hunt, it did not actually invent them.
I thought it did. Wow.
It didn't invent Carole King's Tapestry album either, but it did invent the process of hiding it in a tree.
It did. It did.
You know, the one thing, before we go on to any more background information, the one thing I forgot to mention when we were actually talking about the film is the heavy use of golden oldies on the soundtrack.
Yeah, that must have cost a pretty penny.
I wonder how much they spent on a lot of the rides for, Yummy, 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 I Got Love in My Tummy, and Summer in the City, and You Didn't Have to Be So Nice. There's a lot of Love and Spoonful songs on the soundtrack there.
That's a good soundtrack.
Yeah, it is a good soundtrack. I like that
music.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine it came cheap to get those songs, because they're, very, very well-known songs.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them by the same, is it the Loving Spoonful or whatever?
Yeah, the Loving Spoonful.
And it's kind of, it's mostly their songs, isn't it? They must have got a job lot. You would have thought.
Maybe somebody knew the bass player or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Justin, I'm sure you have some background info.
I do have a bit on it. It's Erik was right. It was filmed in Uppsala College in East Orange, New Jersey, standing in for DeWitt College in Ohio.
Erik said New York, I think.
Yeah, well, it says what I've seen. It's New Jersey, but she does.
I was probably wrong. Sorry, it probably was New Jersey.
Well, she does the Julie Montgomery says there's an interview on the Shriek Show disc with her, and she says they shot in New York, but I don't know how interchangeable those are. I think well, basically I've looked up this college because I tried to find out if there's any information about it being filmed there, and I found quite a few references, but not to exactly nail down exactly when it was filmed. But the college now apparently has been knocked down. It was knocked down in about 1995, or parts of it being knocked down. Because the thing that it was obviously filmed in 1982, but I don't know whether or not it was filmed in early 1982 or late 1982, because obviously it's filmed in winter time, isn't it, or fall time? It was cold anyway, wasn't it?
It definitely has those 81 to 82 kind of fashion scenes going on.
Well, the film got it was released because I've got original one sheets for the film. It was released originally as a Scaremaker in 1983 and on a kind of limited release, and then it got re-released in 1984 more widely under the title Girls' Night Out, which we heard the trailer for, and that was a kind of really played up the really lurid kind of angles for the trailer, and also
released here to video in 84 to 85 on the HBO Thorn EMI label.
Yeah. Well, the things I've got from I'm just having a look to see when Variety said that it was on release in June 1984, and so maybe it came out on video maybe later in the year, but it had been on release in March of 1983 under the Scaremaker sort of title, with I playing not double bill but the same cinemas as Sophie's Choice, which would have been interesting. Sort of mix.
Wow.
But, yes.
What a double bill.
The film was known as Criendo el Terror in Spain, but in France it was called Radio Crochets, which is kind of slightly bizarre. I mean, crochet
Radio
probably means
crochets.
something else in France, but I don't know. James Carroll was aged 32 in this, so as not quite as old as Carolyn Munro in Slaughter High, but certainly getting up there in age for a supposed college student. So I still haven't solved the problem, the issue of when exactly it was filmed. It was obviously filmed in 1982. What I did stumble across was that there are other names. The film it was actually filmed under a different title completely. The original script, which was copyrighted in November 1981, was Final Clue. And that was when it was registered with the copyright, in 1981. So it's obviously written to kind of cash in, obviously, on the slasher movie. It was obviously we'd know, but it was also the actual film itself was copyrighted in December of 1982. And under a different name. It was copyrighted under the name The Scaremaker, but also with AKAs of Girls' Night Out and Blood Games was another AKA for the film. I don't think it ever got released anywhere under those titles, but that's one of the AKAs for it. I was trying to think what else.
While you're thinking, I can just confirm that crochet is the French word for hook. So it's radio hooks.
Radio hooks. Okay. Interesting. Thank you for that. That's sort of. The taglines. It's got loads of different taglines, isn't it? It was kind of they all went in, but only a few got out. Another one is the next time you go to a fancy dress party, check out who's going with you. It began as a game. And the one that makes the least amount of sense is one by one he killed them until he was trapped in his own game.
Yeah, that makes no sense.
No sense at all.
No.
One
of the things because it got released on video in the UK in the early 80s under the VTC label, which is the one they released things like Revenge of the Bogeyman, Superstition. I'm not sure if it was uncut, but it was released as a Scaremaker. And I think, as I said on my review on Hysteria Lives, it always makes me laugh because it says it plays up the kind of the sexy inverted commas angle, and it says that sensuous ladies adorn the screen from the beginning to the end. And of course, the first lady on screen is an elderly psychiatric nurse who is hardly sensuous. But
and as we heard, the theatrical trailer sort of plays the angle as well. It's like some woman in a bed who's not actually in the film. It narrates the trailer and makes it sound like it's full of topless women when it's actually not.
Even the PR for this film was just schizophrenic. So I mean, they couldn't pick, they just couldn't decide what this movie really was.
No, and Justin, you obviously weren't listening to me when I was giving my behind the scenes, but it was cut by 22 seconds for its UK video release.
But didn't you say 1986?
Yeah, that was in 1986. It wasn't released before that, apparently, according to the BBFC website. That's its first entry for Scaremaker.
It was it was, but it probably just wasn't submitted for.
Right, sorry. I take it back.
Yeah, no, it's because I don't think it didn't get a cinema release. Yeah, it was a pre-cert, so it must have been released before 1984 or 1983. But it didn't get a cinema release in the UK, so it was never, as far as I'm aware. Because if it had been, then it would have had a BBFC kind of sort of entry before that time. So, yeah, don't question me, Erik.
Sorry,
only joking. But I think that's.
I'm looking at another terrific video cover here. I don't know where it's from. I'm trying to find out where it's from, but it's got the very final shot of Britannia Alda as her dead brother as the video cover, and then a few stills from the film in the background.
Okay.
It's under the title The Scaremaker, so it looks like it could be an English language release somewhere, but it's actually interesting cover.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's one of the things that made me laugh, actually, hardest with the whole of this film, was when Hal Holbrook works out that Britannia Alda is in fact the killer, because even though he's known her for years, and he obviously knew Dickie Kavanagh, he hasn't twigged that she's a spitting image of her dead brother. And to get her to do that, to get him to actually come to that conclusion, he's got a picture of her, hasn't he, or of him, and then draws the hair on,
and draws long hair on it, and says,
and then goes, "Oh my God, they're the same person." Or
it's that whole I never knew Diana Prince was really Wonder Woman type thing.
Yeah.
Or no, I think the worst example.
He was only there for one day, so cut him some slack.
But
the worst example of that is Prince Adam and He-Man. I mean, He-Man is basically Prince Adam in a pair of underpants, and people can't tell it's the same person.
Or Superman with the glasses.
Yeah. Do we actually know why Barney was doing all of this?
Well, I guess I assume she was just a loony bin. I mean, she was just a Looney Tunes. She had this thing, her brother was driven to the mental institution by all these kind of zany college kids, and I guess she just kind of thought they were all bad people.
And she snapped when she hanged himself or something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, do you think, because the way, I don't know if it was by accident or by design, but the way the camera lingers on Dickie Kavanagh is, and because he's sat, isn't he, in a chair or a wheelchair, and he's got the glove, the bear's hand with claw, the knives, and it's you expect him to either wink or turn to the camera or do something. He doesn't, and I don't know whether it was on purpose or not, but it just leaves it slightly ambiguous about whether or not there's something supernatural going on in this, and whether or not he was actually in on it and he was still alive or undead. And did you get that from there?
No, I mean, it's an interesting take, but I guess for me, I just thought, what made it creepy for me was the music and the slow zoom and the fact that she actually had him in the freezer the whole time.
Yeah, I never picked any supernatural element from the film at all.
It just left it ambiguous. It's ambiguous because it could have been. It's because the way that she'd put the bloody glove was, he was holding it as if he'd been doing the killing. But I'm sure not a lot of thought went into that. I don't think they probably just thought it'd be a cool shot to end the movie on, I imagine.
And it really was. So, I guess another thing I guess we kind of glossed over is, I mean, I mentioned it a few minutes ago, was the fashions. I mean, what did you guys think of Charlie, the DJ, his really gaudy jackets he wore?
Oh, wicked.
Yeah.
With his little bow tie and his kind of
his little bow tie. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Fashion changes so quickly, doesn't it? And I imagine when that film came out in 1984, it must have looked so old-fashioned, mustn't it? In 1984, Erik's obviously the reigning 80s fashion guru.
Well, I don't know. It's all from 1980 to 1989 does look all very dated to me in a wonderful way. So, but I can't tell the subtleties between 1982 and 1984, to be honest.
I mean, I think I can see it's a 19. I always thought it didn't look like a 1984 movie because there's no leg warmers, and you've got that really chunky knitwear. That people wore in 1982, but they wouldn't have worn. Well, they might have, but they would have more likely to have had pictures of Michael Jackson or something, or on them rather in 1984 rather than 1982. So it just screamed to me 1982.
Yeah, me too.
So, is there anything else we'd like to say, Joseph? This is your pick. Do you want to?
No, I guess that's Girls' Night Out. I mean, I really do love the film because it's so schizophrenic. I mean, that's why I picked it. I just think it's an unusual, interesting film.
Excellent. Okay. What about you, Nathan? Anything you want to say?
I'm a fan.
Excellent. Okay. What about you, Erik? Anything you want to say?
You are all whores.
Why, thank you.
You will not forget this.
Yes.
Okay.
Slap.
Well, let's go on to feedback. And before we do that, I shall play the feedback contact details. So if you've enjoyed the show, if you haven't enjoyed it, then please let us know. And this is how.
Be sure to search for and like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at THC_podcast. Our voicemail is 858-233-9281. And you can email us directly at the.hysteria.continues@gmail.com.
Okay. So do write in or phone in. We haven't got any voicemails this time. Have we got... I've got a couple of emails to read out. Shall I
have
go?
one. I'll go first. I'll just get this one out of the way. This is from Giovanni Barunda. He says, "Hello, fine gents. I really enjoyed the hell out of the last two podcasts. I got to meet one of the stars of the original Hills Have Eyes over the weekend at Days of the Dead in Los Angeles, I guess, yeah, and talked to her about how I both find the original film both good and disturbing. She agreed with me about the film, the rape scene, in fact, that it was really well done and very disturbing. I'm surprised you guys didn't bring up the remakes. You guys normally comment on the remakes of any films that you review. I guess we did not in our Hills Have Eyes episode. But anyway, he says, I've never seen Slaughter High until this past week. It's been in my collection for a few months, but when I heard you were reviewing it, I had to check it out. It's a strange film that I both like and dislike at the same time. I think it was Joseph who said that the film has a very trauma humor to it, which really kept me from loving it. I think if the filmmakers would have done the film straight, then it would have made for a really good and scary film. But all the excess just really dragged it down for me. The casting, the score, the characters. Wow, and I thought I disliked Prom Night's characters, and that's a big because I like Prom Night's characters.
Yeah.
Would you not agree with me?
Too.
Yes.
Yeah. But anyway, Giovanni goes on to say, at least in Prom Night, the original, I really felt for the killer in the film and really understood him instead of most of the cast in the film. I'll save my Prom Night rant for when you review that film. LOL. In this film, I didn't feel anything for anyone, and that's at the point. No offense, but I'm getting the impression that English may not be his first language. But anyway, he says, it just seems like a series of scenes and lame jokes. I really got the feeling that this film was meant to be a spoof of the genre, and I understood that, but I thought it failed as a story and a film because it just went so overboard. But despite the flaws, I really liked a lot of the film. I did like the main story, some of the camera movements, the one takes, and the vibe of a lot of the slasher films later on in the film. The film got a lot better as it went along. By the end, I didn't like the film as much as I wanted to, but I think with more watchings, I will like it a bit more. I think now that I know what to expect, I will enjoy it a bit more. I also picked up Bloody Moon, and I loved it. I just reheard the podcast you did on that film. Thanks for making me pick it up. Loved it. Oh, Inga, how could they laugh at you? LOL. By the way, speaking of your next podcast, my short film is titled The Friday Night Frights. I named after Girls' Night Out. Small world. Looking forward to the next one, guys. Giovanni Barunda.
Thank you, Giovanni.
Yes, thank you.
Always good to hear from you. Well, yeah, it's interesting. It's always interesting to hear what people think of the choices we make for the podcast. But it's interesting, especially to hear what people think of seeing something like Slaughter High for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, excellent.
And We did completely forget to mention the remakes of Hills of Eyes on the podcast we did, which was an oversight.
Hated them both.
I liked the first one. I didn't like the second one.
I liked the first one too.
That's all I have to say. I thought it was very strong, very effective. Second one seemed very rushed and very trashy and not that interesting.
Well, I agree with Erik 100%.
Yay.
Excellent. We'll see. We're all making up. We're all friends here,
Yes,
aren't we,
we are.
Erik?
Yeah, we are.
Yes.
Might I remind you that Justin is in the lead with 5 points. Nathan has 4.
Yeah, well, can I remind everyone that it's a 2-part quiz? 2 parts.
And the friendship has disintegrated.
Yeah.
Yes. Well. Okay. Well, thank you, Giovanni. Shall I go next? I've got a big one here.
Ooh.
It hurts when I sit down.
Oh, well, I think we should give ourselves a little something, shouldn't we? All I would do if I could... Let me find it. I seem to have lost it. Where's that? Where have I dropped that off? Let me get it out. Hold on. Here we go.
Now we need 2.
Well done,
Yeah.
well, it seems a little bit rickety, Doctor.
Is it? Yes, but of course it's fairly easy to get it up. It's getting it to stay up. That's what counts.
Oh,
yay.
I thought I'd misplaced it, but I managed to pull it off. So this is from our friend Terry in Belgium, and he says, as usual, your podcast is awesome, and I like every minute of it. I would like to wish Erik a happy birthday. I know his birthday is already over, February, but better late than never. Oh, that's
Thank
sweet,
you, Terry.
Erik. Yeah. Justin and Joseph, or was it Nathan? I know you will have a birthday soon. I do not forget it. Justin, I think you'll turn 42. Am I right? No,
he's
you're
wrong.
Not right, Terry. You are wrong. but bless you.
I thought
for
you were
saying
42.
No.
Already.
No.
Yeah, he was.
I was 42 a couple of years ago, or a year ago.
Oh. Whoa.
Oh, I know.
Justin. Well, might I say that Justin actually looks like he's 25?
That is true.
It's all that clean living.
Yeah, it's all that clean living, all that overproof rum. So it's pickled.
That he spills at wherever.
Yes. Terry goes on to say, you've not seen Mask yet, but obviously, but it certainly deserves a viewing. And he's mentioned this before about it being a German giallo and a homage to Dario Argento's Suspiria. He sent me a picture, actually. He met Dario Argento and he at something called Biff. So I don't know, it's not like Biffa. You know, do you have Biffas in Ireland, Erik?
Biffas?
Biffas, no, it's probably just British. It's a British term for a woman built like a brick shithouse.
All right.
A Biffa. But I think Biff is something different.
Biff Tannen? Biff Tannen?
Biff Tannen? What is Biff Tannen?
It's the bully from Back to the Future.
Okay.
He was on April Fool's Day as well.
Yeah. Well, Terry goes on to say that he asked Dario Argento if he'd seen it, but he said he hadn't. Actually, just talking about Suspiria very quickly, I don't know if you saw that post from Starburst, which is an old sort of science fiction horror magazine from the UK, and there was a one of the people who commented on one of the Facebook groups had mentioned there was a great horror sort of issue which had Halloween 2 on the front, even though they hated Halloween 2. It also had an article on X-Ray, and he hated X-Ray, so they hated everything in it. But they did have a retrospective of Suspiria, and there was this. Did we mention this in the last podcast? I can't remember if I did or not.
I don't think so.
No, we'll just say there was a scene supposedly cut from the movie of the creepy butler being sliced in half, and all his entrails falling out onto the floor. And they said it was in the Italian print. Now, I can't imagine that actually exists, but maybe it does. And if you know it does, let me know. But I would have thought it would have turned up by now, wouldn't it?
Surely would have, yeah.
It would have done, but yes. Okay, well, just go. I shall rattle through this, but say the Biff is one of the oldest festivals, so now we know what it is, devoted to the fantastic genre. I think it was the 35th edition. He says he's seen a lot of horror films. He saw Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3D. He said, awful, unlikable characters. The 3D is useless, the writing terrible, and the ending was really bad. And it was a what the fuck ending, but not in a good way. So obviously didn't like that very much. The Maniac remake, which he said he was slightly disappointed with, and he said it was an okay movie. But the relation between Frank and Anna was far more believable than in the original version. I've not seen that yet. Have any of you guys seen it?
No, I really want to. Yeah, I just wish they'd release it over here.
Haven't they done that already? Or
I don't think so. I mean, if they had, I would have seen it by now.
Okay.
Because I'm really looking forward to it. I think I'm the only one. I mean, I know I'm the only one on the show who really loves the original Maniac. I don't know if you guys do or.
I like it, but I don't love it.
Yeah, same here, really. Yeah. Okay, well, it just goes on. Terry also says he saw a film called Ghost Graduation, which is an outstanding, fantastic comedy Spanish film where the characters are uber likeable, it's entertaining, a lot of fun, well written, and really funny. Says if you like The Breakfast Club, so this one would be one for you, Eric.
Oh,
you
I
may
love The
like
Breakfast
it,
Club.
and has a strong 80s vibe throughout the movie. And lastly, he says he also saw Stitches, which we just talked about, the Irish slasher movie. He says it's only worth it for the inventive killings, for example, the umbrella murder.
Agreed.
Is that a similar umbrella murder to the one in Silent Night, Deadly Night 2? Do you remember that one? Where he could stab someone with an umbrella and then opens it up?
Yeah, it is a little similar, but it's a lot more gory. Yeah. It's gorier, much gorier here.
Okay. There's a few more bits. He just says, now about Slaughter High, he has the DVD, but it's a French one with no bonus materials. He says he really likes the slash movies. The murders are varied, inventive, and some scenes are suspenseful. And he says he likes the music, even if it's very similar to Friday 13th. He says, I do agree about the character of Marty. I do not feel real empathy for him. He's too weird and is responsible for his own accident. I mean, who would put an acid recipient there? The actors are way too old to be teenagers, but it's part of the fun. English not being my mother tongue, I speak French, I was not able to see whether the actors' accents were phony or not. He says, like Erik said, the budget for this film was really low, but did not appear on screen. And I mean, it was a well-done movie, professionally made. He goes on to say, Justin said you would reevaluate Finding Sam with 2-star rating, but I think you should reevaluate other slasher movies like Sleepaway Camp and Chopping Mall. I might get back to that. I don't know. I have to see. It's kind of weird, isn't it? Because some of those reviews are written almost 15 years ago, and my opinions have changed, as anyone listening to this podcast would realise that quite often I shock Nathan by liking some movies more now than you may have expected. What do you guys? I mean,
gastastic, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but that is the same. It must be for you guys as well, mustn't it? There's sort of, I think Erik, you've mentioned sort of watching films where you thought you were hoping for another Friday 13th or another Halloween or something, or My Bloody Valentine, and it's something much more left field, and it's disappointing perhaps at the time.
Oh, completely.
But, yeah.
But I think Slaughter High is the one that I've most changed on. I mean, I used to really dislike it, but I found that I liked it a lot this time.
Yeah, fair enough. Just a couple of little bits here. He just says, you talked a little bit about the slasher movie soundtracks, and to me, Carpenter is the best American composer for the horror genre. He has no musical formation. I say bravo to Carpenter. Christine the Fog, Prince of Darkness, all those scores are purely brilliant. He says, he says, there's a question to round off. He says, a question for you guys. What are the last horror movies you bought? Erik, what have you been buying?
Have a look at my DVD shelf. Phantasm 2 Blu-ray, I think. The Scream Factory one. It's probably my most recent purchase. And an excellent one, too.
How about you, Joseph? Have you been buying any DVDs recently, or are you kind of watching them online?
I've been a little lax with my purchases, but I think the last Blu-ray I purchased was Cabin in the Woods.
Okay. Cool. And what about you, Nathan?
Well, the last DVD I bought was Death Nurse.
Blimey. They put that on DVD?
Yeah, I'm surprised at.
Just wait till I pick it.
Oh, yes. Okay, right. I think mine, actually, I think it's one you sent me, Erik, which was The Pix, which we talked about last time. So, and just finishing off, Terry says for him it was Sleepaway Camp 3, which he likes, but certainly not as good as the first one. and Grizzly, starring Christopher George, which is basically exactly the same story as Jaws, but Jaws is a much better movie. He says he has to agree with Erik. Says the whole movie is great, and only the first part. Jaws is my favourite movie of all time. I think he's talking about you. Did you criticise Jaws, Erik?
I didn't criticise it. I do love Jaws, but I prefer Jaws 2, I think, which is an unusual opinion, I think.
Yes.
I do too. I think it's a more entertaining movie.
It's more fun to watch, yeah.
The first one's a better film, but the second one's a better movie.
Yeah.
Well, Grizzly's a lot of fun as well, isn't it? I really like Grizzly.
Yeah.
It's kind of a slasher movie with bears, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So, Terry bids us a fond adieu and says, have a very good day and keep up the good work as usual. So thank you very much, Terry.
Thanks, Terry.
Yeah, it was good to hear
Thank
from you.
you.
So I've got a little one here to read out.
Yes, of course.
Has anyone got... Who else has got something?
Okay, I'm just reading. There's 2 recent posts on our Facebook page. One is from Brian Finley. He says, "Just started listening to your podcast. Really enjoy it. Just like to ask, are there any slasher movies that you feel were genuinely nasty, offensive, or mean-spirited? I've always had a problem with the way the tone shifts in Cherry Falls, jumping between silly comedy and a story about gang rape and child abuse. It's never quite sat right with me." And that's from Brian Finley. So, any slasher movies we think are mean-spirited or nasty?
Well, I kind of guess with today's choice, it's got that thing never quite sits right with me. The kind of the whole slut whore bitch sort of hissing that the killer does. That it doesn't sit very. It's not an easy bedfellow with the Porky style humour. Or the kind of the basically the college kids having fun. It's got that kind of weird juxtaposition, which I find not bad, but it's quite jarring. And I've always found Maniac particularly mean-spirited. So,
and probably New York Ripper, maybe.
Yeah, New York Ripper. It's not film. They're not films I particularly want to return to very often. I've always said that I much prefer kind of popcorn slashers to the more gritty, realistic ones, or even not necessarily realistic, but yeah.
And I'm not a fan of, like movies like there's a new movie that had come out called Kidnapped, and, it was basically a home invasion movie. But to me, and spoilers, if anybody hasn't seen Kidnapped, skip ahead, spoilers. It's just one of those movies where, it's depressing from beginning to end. There's no retribution. There's no, it's not a fun movie. It's just a movie that just makes you, I don't know, feel bad from beginning to end. It's not scary. It's just, it's like, it's a hopeless film, I guess. It makes everything is hopeless. There's no escape. There's no anything. And movies like that, I just don't see the appeal of, I guess.
I'll throw Eden Lake onto the fire.
Yeah, even though it's not a slasher as such, but
it's close enough.
Yeah. So I suppose there is a few then.
Yeah.
Nasty, mean-spirited ones. I suppose the Hostel, even though they're not slashers either. Hostel films are kind of grim. I find
the first Hostel, I think, is kind of it's almost playful. I mean, it is mean-spirited in spots, but I think a lot of it's kind of almost subtly jokey. But the second one really is just kind of grim.
I do enjoy. Well, enjoy is probably the wrong word. I did like the 2 films, but I did find them kind of grim, to be honest.
I didn't like Hostel 2. I liked the first Hostel.
We've talked about this before, haven't we? Because I actually preferred the sequel to.
Yeah, I need to see.
Hostel.
I need to see Hostel 2 again because I only saw it at the theater and I haven't seen it since. But.
Okay, I have one other here from Dale Roy, who posted on our Facebook page. He said, "Just discovered the podcast a few months ago. I'm absolutely loving it. The Slaughter High episode was fantastic. Love the flushing cat clip, cool bastard twist this time. Keep up the good work, guys." And that's cheers from Dale Roy, who is part of the Exploited Cinema podcast.
Thank you, Dale.
Thank you, Dale.
Thank you.
We didn't get the cat out this podcast, sadly.
No, but we will get the cat out at some point.
Because that bastard remix has been going around in my head for the last 2 weeks.
He'll be back.
I'm sure we'll get that out again at some point soon. Has anyone else got anything else?
No.
No, okay. I have actually got another bit of feedback, but I just realised I haven't put the person's name next to it, which is rather daft of me. So let me. What I'll do, I'll read it out. And I'm going to have a look while we're talking. I'm going to have a look to see who it's from. But it's, hi guys, love the double bills. Please keep them coming. On a sad note, perhaps overshadowed by the death of Roger Ebert, Bloody Moon director Jess Franco passed away at the age of 82. Franco was a true cinema iconoclast, and his jazz, hazy films will always be dear to my heart. Shifting gears, I was wondering if perhaps the Hysteria Continues needs donations. I know many other popular podcasts do fun stuff like donation for a fan-requested movie review. If so, it might be fun to squeeze in a fan-requested mini-review during Recently Seen. Maybe the donator could pick a specific host to do a review, and it wouldn't even necessarily have to be a slasher fic. One last thing, do you consider Amityville 2, The Possession, a slasher? I do. You should do too, and give it a review. Thanks, gentlemen. P.S. Top 3 cheesiest sex scenes, double entendre provided. So talking about yourselves, I'm going to find out who that was, because I rather stupidly copied that feedback and didn't write it. So,
okay, Amityville 2 as a slasher movie, I'm not sure. It is, as I said earlier in the podcast, one of my favourite films. I think the first hour in particular is really, really creepy and a tad sleazy. What do you guys think, Nathan and Joseph? Would you consider it a slasher?
I don't know either. I need to see it.
I think it's close enough where we could do an episode on it.
I would love to discuss it because I think it's brilliant.
Yeah.
I've just looked it up. That was our friend Georgie, or Georgie.
Georgie?
It's a Georgie or Georgie.
G-O-R-G-Y, is it?
G-Y-O, and it's got the two little dots above the O, so I don't know how you pronounce that. R-G-Y. So it's like orgy.
Georgie. So
we do apologise, as forever mangling people's names on the podcast. But as far as kind of donations, we're not. I mean, it obviously does cost some money, to host the files and stuff. So if people did want to help, then you can make a PayPal donation at both this Hysteria Lives website and also the Body Counts Continues. I think you've got that facility, haven't you there, Joseph?
Yes.
Yeah. So if you'd like to help the hosting, then a couple of dollars here or there would certainly help. I know. So like Outside the Cinema did a big kind of push for donations for a new studio. For us, it's not quite the same thing because obviously it's as one person kindly said in the review of one of the commentary did their favourite everybody's favourite transatlantic podcast, which was very nice.
Yes.
But obviously there would be no point us getting a new studio because we're all in different.
Well, you know what we could do? We could do is we could start a Kickstarter campaign to fly us all into one central location to record one episode.
That would be good. Yes,
a video episode.
And also, any money that can be given for Erik's anger management courses, then that would be gratefully received.
Not impressed. I want to see. Maybe Erik should have an Inga fit on the video one if we ever fly to one location like that. It should be a quiz.
I don't think they'd have to pay for that. I think it would come naturally to me.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Well, you could recreate scenes from Bloody Moon, Erik, couldn't you? You could dress up in your best 70s fashion.
Yeah, jumping up and down the bed, pretending I'm having sex with Ralph while you look in the window.
Yes. Just imagine if you send us $10,000, you could make that happen. For real.
Well, you'd have to dress up
We have to have some kind of, wealthy, extremely wealthy listener out there who would like to see us on video. So get to donating.
Exactly. Yes. So, well, thank you, Georgie, gorgeous, whatever. But you're,
Gorgeous George.
Gorgeous
George. That's his name.
Gorgeous George. You know how to pronounce your name, so maybe you can tell us and we can try. But well, thank you. And is there anything else? Any other bits of feedback?
No.
Okay. I I did say I did mention. Obviously, we've spoken about it before, but pre-orders are up for the Slice and Dice, a slasher movie forever documentary that
I haven't pre-ordered.
You have, excellent, and obviously it's going to be a really good documentary. The High Rising guys, Naomi and Callum, do some amazing work on very little budget. And especially Naomi's animation always just gives everything that extra sheen. Everything looks, makes everything look $1 million. And I have seen it. And someone mentioned, I didn't mention about seeing Intruder uncut on the big screen. And unfortunately, I didn't get to see it when I went to Glasgow because although I was there, we had to go off and do the commentary while the film was playing. So I didn't get to see it, unfortunately. But apparently it went down really, really well. So
isn't there a bonus disc of slasher trailers in the DVD that you've done commentary for as well?
Yes, I've done a commentary. I've moderated a commentary talking to Callum about throughout the commentary, but then we did a kind of fun, kind of quick sort of fire commentary on slasher movie trailers. There's only about 20 of them. Well, only about 20 of them. It's not comprehensive in so much. It's not all the slasher trailers you would think, but it's some ones you would expect and some you may not expect. So it should make for quite a fun bonus disc.
Yeah.
So yes. Well, is there anything else we want to say before we close the show?
You should tell us what your next pick is going to be.
Oh yes, big surprise.
Well, it's not really a big surprise. It's only because I've got at least one interview lined up with the cast and crew of Phantom of the Mall, Erik's Revenge.
My revenge.
Erik's Revenge. So I've got at least one, which probably means I won't get any of them. Unfortunately, the Phantom himself very kindly turned me down because he's...
What about Pauly Shore? Did you get him?
Is Pauly Shore in Phantom of the Mall?
Yes.
Yes, he is.
And Ken Forey. And Morgan Fairchild, of course.
And Morgan Fairchild.
I know Morgan Fairchild's in it, yeah.
Yes. So, I haven't seen... It's only... I don't know why. I think it's partly because I got some like mini lobby cards on eBay for about £2 the other day. And so it just kind of, I just thought, well, it might be quite fun because I haven't actually seen that film for years, so I've no idea whether I'd like it or not. But I imagine, Nathan, you probably quite enjoy that film.
I do, but it's been a long time, so I'm ready to rewatch it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been
over
over 20 years since I've seen it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I haven't seen
it
it in a long time either.
It should be an interesting, to go back to it. The only thing I'm looking for, and I can't find yet, is a trailer, because I can find a Spanish language trailer which lots of Erik sort of throughout it. So that's the only one I can find at the moment. So if anyone's got a trailer,
Erik, I don't know if we'll do the second half of the quiz on that episode or not. But if we do this, since it's Erik's Revenge, you need to kind of brush up on your slasher movie knowledge, because this could be your revenge.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with my slasher movie knowledge. It's just your questions are rigged.
No,
Erik, come on, man up.
I am the winner, and the world belongs to me.
No, you man up. Cross-dressing vegan person.
Go sit on a Kit Kat. Yeah.
Yeah, Erik.
I am already.
You have already? Is that why you're so...
That's not chocolate.
Oh, God. Right,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah,
well, let's I think it's time that we finish this once and for all. Well, not once and for all for this week. So, thank you for joining us. Anything else we want to say before Erik has a breakdown?
It's been fun.
It's been fun.
Yes.
And the thing I'm really looking forward to for the next show is going to be lots of fantastic little clips that we can play of Erik, I imagine.
What?
Well, lots of people.
Oh, of Erik in Phantom of the Mall, yeah.
Yeah, and going, oh, Erik's after me, or Erik,
Yeah.
Well,
I still like that clip from the slasher where it says, "I hate to admit it, but Erik is right," which I think we should play. Did I say the slasher? I meant the Slayer. We should play that more often. That clip.
Well, why don't you? If you grab that clip and we'll play it for next week, so it can be an all Erik all the time episode next week, or in a fortnight, I should say.
Because I don't think there's no Justin films out there, is there? No, there isn't.
No, it's just people like Justin Timberlake and people like that, and Justin Bieber. It's kind of like, famous people. So, yeah. So, okay. Right. Well, thanks for listening, and we're going to play you out with what are we playing out with, Joseph?
This is "Summer in the City" by the Lovin' Spoonful.
Okay. Right. Well, here's "Summer in the City."
But he keeps it up forever.
Eric, would you take it from Pryor?
No.
Wait a minute. Joe told me that he thought Pryor was really hot in Creepshow 2.
Yeah, he was.
No. Joe said he thought Sam Moon was hot in Creepshow 2.
Which one's he?
The one with the long hair that's going to get him paid and lead.
Paid and lead.
That's Holt McCallany.
What is
Did you have a thing for him, Joseph?
No, I did not.